You're the kind of guy women date before they meet the one they actually want, she said while texting some guy from her gym. So I told her I hoped he was everything I wasn't and left her. Now she's the ex he pretends never existed. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I used to think that when someone loved you, they wanted to make your life easier. Not perfect, just easier. You'd come home from work, talk about your day, laugh a little, and even if things were rough, you felt like you were on the same side. That's how it was with Lila at the start. She had this energy that filled every room she walked into. Confident, quick with comebacks, never dull. When we met, she said she liked that I was steady. Her word, not mine. I work as a mechanical engineer, decent pay, stable hours, nothing glamorous. I didn't mind being the calm one next to her intensity. At first, she said it balanced her out. But over time, that same word, steady, turned into an insult. It started small. Jokes that weren't really jokes. You're so predictable, she'd laugh, scrolling through her phone. Or, I swear, if you ever got a tattoo, the universe would collapse. Then came the comparisons. Megan's boyfriend just surprised her with a weekend trip to Miami. Or, Ethan started his own business. You ever think about taking a risk for once? She said those things casually, like she was just making conversation. But every time, it chipped away at me. Still, I try not to take it personally. I figured maybe she was just restless. She worked in marketing, surrounded by flashy people and fast talk. I wasn't trying to compete with that. I just wanted to be the guy she could count on. But lately, it felt like she didn't even see me anymore. We'd go out to dinner, and she'd spend half the night on her phone, typing fast, smiling down at the screen. When I asked who she was talking to, she'd roll her eyes. You're jealous over nothing, relax. It's just a friend from my gym. That became a pattern, me noticing, her deflecting. She started going to that gym almost every evening. Late sessions, group classes, always followed by vague explanations if I asked about it. She'd come home still in workout clothes, smelling like someone else's cologne, and I'd tell myself not to assume. But it wasn't even the possible cheating that got to me. It was the contempt. The way she'd sigh when I asked her to put her phone away at dinner. The way she'd say things like, "You don't understand what it's like to want more," as if my stability was some kind of character flaw. The worst part was, I still loved her. I kept thinking that if I just stayed patient, she'd remember who I was to her. The guy who fixed her car at midnight, helped her move apartments, made her breakfast every Sunday. The one who never made her feel small. But she had started to confuse kindness with weakness. And that night, the one where she said what she said, I realized how far she'd fallen from the person I thought she was. She wasn't trying to make things easier anymore. She wanted someone to look down on. And I had finally run out of ways to pretend that didn't hurt. It happened on a Wednesday night. One of those quiet midweek evenings where nothing dramatic should happen. I'd made dinner, nothing special, just pasta and salad. Lila was sitting across from me at the table, her phone propped up beside her plate, screen lighting up every few seconds. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. I kept my voice calm. You've been glued to that thing all week. Who's keeping you that entertained? She didn't look up. You wouldn't know him. Try me. Finally, she sighed, like I was interrupting something important. His name's Ryan. He's from my gym. We've just been talking. Talking about what? Life, fitness, ambition. You know, stuff people with drive talk about. That one stung more than I wanted to admit. I set my fork down and leaned back. Right? Because engineers have no ambition. She smirked. That's not what I said. Not directly. That was when she put her phone down and really looked at me, with that half smile she used when she thought she was being clever. You know what your problem is? She said. You're the kind of guy women date before they meet the one they actually want. I stared at her, waiting for her to laugh. She didn't. She just kept going, casually, like she was discussing the weather. You're safe, dependable, nice. You make women feel stable for a while, and then, well, they move on. It's not your fault. It's just who you are. I could feel my pulse in my throat. So that's what I am to you? A practice run. She shrugged. Don't make it sound so tragic. You'll find someone who appreciates boring one day. That was it. Not shouted, not cruelly screamed, just said with quiet contempt. Something in me clicked off after that. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything or demand explanations. I just sat there, watching her pick up her phone again, her thumbs tapping away, smiling at whoever was on the other end. "Ryan texting you?" I asked. She looked up again, that smirk still there. "Maybe." I nodded slowly. "Then I hope he's everything I'm not." She blinked, confused for a second, like she wasn't sure if I was being sarcastic or serious. But I was calm, too calm. I got up from the table, grabbed my keys, and said, "You win, Lila. You get to meet the one you actually want." She laughed under her breath. "You're being dramatic." I didn't answer. I walked out. No scene, no goodbye kiss, no shouting. Just silence. The kind of silence that means something's over for good. I stayed with a friend that night. The next morning, I texted her one line. "Don't worry about me coming back. You got what you wanted." She didn't respond. But later that day, she posted a picture at the gym, same outfit she wore to dinner, big smile, a caption that read, "Some people just don't get it." And Ryan was in the comments, flame emojis and all. That was the confirmation I didn't need, but got anyway. I blocked her number that night. I thought that would be the end of it. But karma was only getting started, and so was she. The first few weeks after I left, I didn't really feel anything. It wasn't peace. It was more like emptiness. I still woke up at 6:30, still brewed my coffee the same way, still drove to work. But the silence in my apartment felt heavier than it should have. The kind of silence that hums. Every so often, I'd scroll through social media without meaning to, old habit. That's how I saw her posts. Lila didn't waste a single day pretending she was heartbroken. The very next week, she was tagging herself at rooftop bars, gyms, brunches, always smiling, always surrounded by people I'd never met. And Ryan, he was in almost every picture now, the gym guy. The captions were the same kind of thinly veiled jabs you'd expect. Energy attracts energy. Some people just can't keep up. Finally, with someone who makes me feel alive. Each one hit like a small punch, not because I missed her, but because of how fake it all looked. She was trying way too hard to prove she was happy. So I went the opposite direction. I stayed offline. I started taking more shifts at work, enrolled in a night course for my certification upgrade, and picked up running again. It wasn't a transformation montage, no glow up, no revenge body, no cinematic moment. Just a quiet return to myself. Funny thing is, when you stop chasing closure, it starts chasing you. 2 months later, one of Lila's friends, Claire, messaged me out of nowhere. We weren't close, but she always seemed to have more common sense than Lila's other circle. She wrote, "I know it's not my business, but you were right about her." I didn't reply at first, but she kept going. "Ryan's a nightmare. Controlling, jealous, broke. He's already cheated on her twice. She moved in with him, and he's got her paying half his rent." I stared at that message for a long time. Not because I was shocked, but because I wasn't. Lila used to chase chaos like it was a sport. She'd call it passion. I used to think that was something I lacked. Now I saw it for what it was. Instability wrapped in charm. I didn't text back. I didn't comment. But inside, I felt something shift. Not satisfaction exactly, but a kind of closure that didn't need an audience. Then, about 3 weeks later, I got a text from an unknown number. "Lila, hey. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but can we talk?" I ignored it. A few hours later, "Lila, it's not what you think. Things just got complicated. I just want to explain." The next day, "Lila, wow. So I meant nothing to you, huh? After everything." That one made me laugh. Not out of cruelty, but disbelief. After everything she said, after how smug she was really trying to play the victim now. By the end of that week, she called twice. I didn't answer. But then she sent a text that actually stopped me mid-sentence at work. "Lila, you'd be happy to know Ryan turned out to be a liar. You were right about him. Congratulations." No sorry. No acknowledgement of what she'd done. Just a backhanded, ego-soaked half-confession. I didn't reply. Instead, that night, I went for a run. I hit the same route we used to take together when she pretended she liked jogging. The air was cold, the streets were quiet, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't think about her at all. But that peace didn't last long. Because soon, her attempts stopped sounding prideful and started sounding desperate. And that's when I realized karma had only just begun collecting. It started subtly. A missed call here, a random hey there. Then, the longer messages began, long enough that my phone screen couldn't fit them in one view. "Lila, I know I messed up, but I was confused back then. You were always so calm. It made me feel like you didn't care. Ryan made me feel wanted. I see now that he was just manipulating me. Lila, you don't have to respond. I just want to talk. Please. Then came the shift, guilt trips masked as honesty. Lila, you always said I could talk to you about anything. Guess that was a lie too. Lila, you're really going to pretend we didn't have something real? Wow. Lila, do you even care that I got hurt? I didn't respond to a single one. By week 3, she stopped pretending to be humble. Lila, you think you're better than me now? You're not. You're still the same boring guy. Lila, whatever. Ryan's already been trying to get me back anyway. You were just a chapter. That was almost funny. I could practically hear her pride cracking in real time. But then she crossed a line. I came home one evening to find her waiting by my building. She was standing near the steps, arms folded, looking smaller than I remembered, hair unkempt, mascara smudged, phone in hand. Wow, she said when she saw me. You really weren't going to answer, were you? I kept my tone even. No, I wasn't. She gave this bitter little laugh. You're really going to act like you're too good for me now? I'm not acting. That got under her skin. She stepped closer. So what, you're just done? You're not even curious about what happened. I already know what happened. You left for someone better. Turns out he wasn't. End of story. Her expression cracked. The smirk she always wore twitched, trying to hold. That's not fair. You don't even understand what he did. Lila, I said quietly. I don't care what he did. I'm not him. I stopped being part of your story the moment you told me I was the guy women date before they find the one they want. Her face went pale. I could see the memory hit her. The smug way she'd said it. The little smirk that night. I didn't mean it like that, she whispered. Yeah, I said. You did. There was a pause. The kind that makes every sound in the world feel loud. Then she tried again, softer. Can we at least get coffee or something? Just to talk? We don't have to make it weird. No, Lila. I don't think coffee would change anything. She exhaled, frustrated, then said it. The thing that showed me exactly who she still was. You'll regret this. You think I need you? I'm just trying to be nice. I smiled slightly. You've never done anything nice that didn't serve you first. She froze for a second, then scoffed. You're not even worth arguing with. Then don't. I walked past her and unlocked the door. She stood there for a few seconds, waiting, maybe hoping I'd stop her. But I didn't. When I finally looked back, she was gone. That was the last time I saw her in person. At least, until the day she showed up where she really shouldn't have, looking for something I stopped offering a long time ago. It had been almost 6 months since that night outside my building. Life was quiet again, the kind of quiet that feels like oxygen. I had finished my certification, started working on a promotion project at my firm, and even bought some new furniture, something I'd always put off. Most importantly, I didn't think about Lila anymore. Not out of bitterness. She just wasn't there in my mind. That, I realized, was what real closure looked like. Then one Friday evening, my coworker Daniel invited me to his engagement party. Small gathering, nothing fancy, just friends, drinks, and music. I almost didn't go, but he'd been my project partner for months, and he'd insisted. I showed up, made small talk, had a few beers. Normal night. Until I heard her voice. Wait, Will. I turned around, and there she was. Lila. She looked different. Not in the superficial sense. She was still attractive, but the energy was gone. She looked tired, almost brittle. She was standing with one of Daniel's fiancé's friends. That's how small the world can get when karma's working overtime. Her eyes widened like she hadn't expected me to actually turn around. Hey, she said, forcing a smile. Wow, you look good. Thanks, I said evenly. How have you been? She let out a nervous laugh. Could be better. I nodded. Yeah, I heard. Her smile faltered. From who? Claire. Of course she'd tell you, she muttered. She always loved meddling. Then, quickly, as if to defend herself, she added, it's not as bad as she makes it sound. Ryan and I, well, we're not together. Haven't been for a while. He turned out to be a jerk, but you probably knew that. I didn't reply. She filled the silence fast, like she couldn't stand it. You know, seeing you here feels weird. Full circle, maybe? Like maybe we could start over, just as friends. I miss how easy things were with you. There it was. The nostalgia angle. The rewrite of history. I took a slow sip of my drink, then said, you miss the version of me that tolerated disrespect. That version doesn't exist anymore. Her face froze. Wow, she said softly. So you're just cold now? No, I said. I'm just done explaining why I deserve better. She blinked, her composure breaking a little. You think you're better than me now? I don't think about you at all, I said. That hit harder than anything else I could have said. You could see it in her eyes. The panic, the realization that her words no longer carried weight. She tried to recover. You don't have to be cruel. I'm not. I'm just being honest. You told me I was the guy women date before they meet the one they actually want. You were right. You just didn't realize I'd stop waiting to be chosen. That silence again. The one that makes even music sound far away. She swallowed hard, then muttered, You really changed. I smiled faintly. No, Lila. I just finally started treating myself the way you never did. Someone called her name from across the room. She looked over her shoulder, hesitated, then back at me, searching for something, maybe a flicker of the old softness she could manipulate. It wasn't there. Take care of yourself, I said simply, and walked away. Later that night, Daniel leaned over and asked quietly, Old girlfriend? Yeah, I said. A long time ago. And that was the truth. Not just about time, but about everything that made her feel like a different life. Because for the first time, she really was just that, someone I used to know. And when she walked out of that party alone, I didn't feel anger or satisfaction or regret. Just peace. The kind that comes when the storm's finally done and you're still standing. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.